you would like to support the podcast and get some extra content while you're there, head on over to patreon.com/Severe MMA podcast and sign up. From the rewatch to the Q&A, we will have loads of content every week. So sign up, patreon.com/Severe MMA podcast. And now, here's the podcast. Welcome everybody. It's episode 348 of the Severe MMA podcast. My name is Sean Sheehan, joined today by the David Humphreys of Irish MMA Media, MMA Media, Graeme MacDonald, as we talk about a pretty big week in the world of mixed martial arts outside of the UFC. A new promotion emerged, kind of. Bellator came back with a card. It's UFC next week. And a bit of news, along with that as well. The Irish had a great time at the IMMAFs and all of that. So we will get into all of that in a second. We must tell you here that this episode of the podcast, why can I not speak this morning, is brought to you by our good friends over at Manscaped. And everyone knows what's coming up, lads. It is Valentine's Day and Cupid Day. Cupid works hard in February, but our friends at Manscaped are working even harder to ensure your Valentine's Day is one to remember. Don't turn this day of a romance into Independence Day this year and get in control with their Performance Package 4.0 which includes the signature Lawnmower 4.0. This February, join the 4 million men worldwide and use that promo code SevereMMA at Manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping. Contrary to popular belief, love is not blind when you can't see past that jungle. I know myself and Graeme fed Manscaped for a long time now, and this Performance Package 4.0, it will leave you with more dating app notifications than Cupid has had arrows. No wonder the two of us are loved up. The Love Bundle comes around equipped with the best tools needed when freshening up for a night out in the town. As I mentioned, the Performance Package 4.0 features the Lawnmower 4.0. It's an electric trimmer designed to trim hair on loose skin. It has the advanced skin safe technology, 4000K LED spotlight as well, which is absolutely brilliant. Confucius says education breeds confidence, so it's time to get your education on the ultimate grooming routine for all your areas of romance this year. Includes also the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer, and 2 free gifts, a shed travel bag and the boxer briefs as well, which are anti-chafing. For extra freshness, the Performance Package also includes Manscaped's liquid formulations, crop preserver and ball revivers, a deodorant for the balls, and then a toner to keep you going after that. And then let's not forget the southern region, not just the southern region, it's the northern region too, and the cologne is very good for that. It's a cherry on top of the perfect date package, Pepe Le Pew approved, that offers a masculine yet light scent that will leave your lady speechless. Manscaped has you covered this Valentine's Day. Get yourself a gift that you and your day will both appreciate. So go to manscaped.com for exclusive offer of 20% off and free shipping with that code SevereMMA. Don't forget to use it, code SevereMMA. Remember, you can't buy love, but you can buy a clean pair of balls. So that's 20% off and free shipping with the code SevereMMA at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code SevereMMA. Help tame that jungle you have in your pants with our friends over at Manscaped. All right, Graeme, let's get straight into it, to be honest. Look, this weekend, it was one of those weekends in mixed martial arts where I suppose a lot of people listening to this podcast probably didn't even watch any mixed martial arts. They're probably saying, look, we got one UFC back, we have a week off, and then we get back into probably 10 UFCs in a row. I haven't even checked it yet, but I'm sure there is. We obviously have some big title fights coming up, big fights all around coming up. Cerrone versus Lozon even was announced, and I'm not saying that's a massive fight or anything, but that's a fun fight to look forward to. And others as well, Yan and Sterling and Cage Warriors is coming back, and Bellator are coming to Dublin and everything like that. So there's some good stuff coming up this weekend. It wasn't really it. We'll talk about Eagle FC as well. I actually enjoyed that a lot. And I have the video for that, about that coming out in Sherdog as well, but we will talk about it in depth here. But this, I just feel, look, sometimes with Bellator, we often talk about where they place their cards and the timing of them and everything like that. And we always say they should have a card when there is no UFC on. And they did that. The problem with this is, right, not a great card, a top of which was a heavyweight title fight with a champion that everyone kind of knows has gone down to light heavyweight and got absolutely destroyed in a couple of fights. So, okay, we'll get to this fight and what happened. So maybe it didn't go exactly as we were expecting. We were talking about coming into this fight. And on the night as well of the Royal Rumble, which is a big thing that a lot of people obviously in America and worldwide watch, and even like non-WWE fans like the Royal Rumble. It's one of those things you mightn't watch anything all year, especially as well when, like, why are Bellator not doing Fridays more often? I know they would have clashed with Eagle FC this week, but this week and maybe in the future as well. But I feel like if they went on Friday, they'd have a better chance. And a better chance of not getting people who are watching the Royal Rumble, not getting people who are gone out on a Saturday night, and people who are like staying in on a Friday, go out on a Saturday, and put it on earlier as well. Like, Bellator is always too late. It's always too late. It needs to be earlier. Like, people, if you're Bellator, right, you need to make it as easy as you possibly can for people to watch. You need to get more viewers in. You need to do everything you can on the right decision. Now, they made the right decision to get it on the right weekend, but to put it up against the Royal Rumble, like it was right up against the Women's Royal Rumble and the Men's Royal Rumble, and Ronda Rousey came back, and Brock Lesnar was there as well. So even if, you know, the kind of the fans of both,
like most adults don't like.
But there's a lot of apart from.
I'm only joking.
Yeah, I know, but apart,
it's definitely dividing the audience.
Yeah, apart from the NFL and basketball, I heard Dave Meltzer talk about it. Wrestling has the biggest audience of all. So, like, wrestling's almost more important to avoid than other MMA. It is, unless it's the UFC. And I don't know, it's a bit senseless to me. And it's also a bit senseless that if they did plan this right, to have it on a weekend with no UFC, and maybe they didn't, maybe they're just making their own plans. But if they did, to have a card of this quality, like, they could have made it so much better. They really could have. It's
not just in hindsight as well, because we did it on the podcast last week. I said, you know, with the UFC not having a card, they should have come with a better card. And you kind of mentioned about, like, you know, restrictions and stuff like that. But surely, like, you know, a better card than this could have been put on. Okay, maybe not like a full card, but a couple of better fights on the main card, or a better, like, the co-main event actually turned out to be a pretty good fight in my opinion, like, in terms of there was like jeopardy in it and stuff, but it just, you know, there was just nothing stand out there that was going to catch the casuals' eyes, as you're saying. Like, and if people are casual fans and they have the option of, you know, the Royal Rumble, or, you know, people they probably haven't heard of except for Benson Henderson and Bader, then they might have heard of, then, you know, they're probably going to choose the Royal Rumble, as you said, because I think WrestleMania and Royal Rumble are like the two biggest cards of the year. So they've been hyping this stuff for months. And I think Bellator, I don't know how much planning actually goes into what they're doing. You know, the UFC have give gaps, and they don't see, or have gaps in the calendar every now and again, and that should be their biggest card. They should be, you know, strategizing towards making sure that they have the best fights with the biggest names and the most exciting to casuals that they can on these weekends. And as you said, they put it on a Friday. Like, you know, Bellator on a Friday isn't an unknown thing. Like, it's not going to throw people off. There just doesn't seem to be that much planning going into it. It just seems to be, you know, we're doing what we're doing and not really worrying about what else is going on, which is detrimental to their ratings, I'm sure.
Yeah, or even put it on a Thursday, like, especially if you're running cards in not the biggest venues in America. Like, people will come out on a Thursday to watch something, like, you know, and people will be at home watching. You'll get bigger viewers on a Thursday than you will, you know, you will on
You might even get that, you know, the old WEC people really like a Thursday card and kind of get them more interested, kind of roll back the years in terms of that. It might get actually a little bit more excitement.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, maybe maybe it's being dictated by the TV channel they're on and all that. You know, there are ways around it. But we're talking about not just Bellator or Scott Coker's decision making, but you know, the channel they're on making those decisions as well. And also, just to go from the Irish point of view as well, they keep putting it on Virgin Media Sports when there's nothing on Virgin Media 2 at that time, and I just like teleshopping or something. It's like, why do you not get it on? Like, they should be fighting for that tooth and nail, and also Virgin Media should be putting it on as well.
It should be on Virgin Media 1. Like, at that time of night, there's never anything on Virgin Media 1. Like, if there isn't like live sport during the day on Virgin Media, there's basically nothing to watch on it. Like,
yeah. Put it on after Immerdale. So get the old fogies in there to watch it. It's still on the iPlayer as well. I forgot about that. That iPlayer deal was...
Just get the cops run in and you're laughing.
That was the best ever. But yeah, I suppose we'll talk a little bit about the card here. Nothing blowy on it, to be honest. The undercard went exactly as you would expect it from a Bellator undercard. They put a lot of their very good up-and-comers on it, and every single one of them won. Sullivan Cawley beat Ben Parrish, the fan favourite, pretty easily. Although Ben Parrish did fight back and he did a good job surviving, but he only survived so much and got finished with 25 seconds left in the opening round. Lucas Brennan, this guy looks an unbelievable submission artist. He moved to 6-0, defeating Ben Lugo with that kind of, what did he call it? An assassin choke? Is that what he called it? It was like a head and arm guillotine is how I would describe it. It was a weird joke, but very, very good. It
was like an arm triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A guillotine arm triangle.
Arm triangle guillotine or something, I don't know.
Yeah. It was weird. I have seen something like that before. I suppose it's just like it's a guillotine. It's like a mounted guillotine, except from side control, if you get me. Like, it's a very weird one, but it's a cool choke. And I love the way as well he hooked in the leg, so Lugo couldn't get away. Like, if you watch it, actually, the clips online don't really show it, because he just kind of lost it, as the choke finished, but the damage was already done at that point. But that sort of one, like the arm triangle, they always say you get your belly on the ground and then you rotate away and you get away from the choke and you keep rotating and it'll give you a little bit of air. Brennan, and I assume, as no expert on the assassin choke or anything like that, but I assume that would be a similar sort of thing. But Brennan did a great job of hooking in the leg of Lugo, and he couldn't move and couldn't, do the anti-clockwise movement or whatever. Or the clockwise, well, it can be either, I suppose. But he couldn't get away. So Lucas Brennan, I'd say he's a lad that Andrew McGahan in a few years will be talking about. Oh, this lad, he's jiu-jitsu expert, but he does look very good. And his father as well what did they say he fought in Pride? I can't remember, but Lucas Brennan, 100% Irish as well. We're claiming him. So today's bread today should be his nickname. His
nickname is Skywalker, is it? Or some stupid
Lucas
Star Wars
Skywalker. It's like God. Iron Michael Chandler. Like if you're going with Skywalker, and I've never even seen Star Wars, so I don't know, but I assume you have to go with Luke.
Never seen
Skywalker.
Any Star Wars, no?
No, I watched The Mandalorian, but I haven't watched any of the Star Wars films. No, I've never seen any of them.
Don't bother watching the recent ones, but if you can go back and watch the older ones, they're decent, but they're it's pretty controversial probably, but they're definitely overrated.
Star Wars in general is overrated.
Yeah, even the first couple episodes that were meant to be the first 3 episodes that are meant to be unbelievable are just overrated. But they're still okay. Like when you're a kid, when
you're like rest. Patrick loves Star Wars, and I just kind of hold it over him that I've never watched it. It's more me just fucking trolling him than anything else. But I will go with a lifetime long fucking winded troll. I've no problem do that, but yeah. Might watch it sometime. Wasn't your man, who's the director of Star Wars? Was his daughter fighting
George
MMA
Lucas.
before? Yeah, remember his daughter fought in MMA?
Yeah.
There you go. No. Right. Also, your man from Storage Wars fought in MMA. Do you know that? What's his name? Oh, I can't. Ivy. He fought in Storage. Your man from Storage Wars, he fought in MMA. That's mad. He's 1-0 in MMA, so fair play. Anyway, back to Bellator. Mikhailov, who obviously we know from fighting Brian Moore the last time, looked really good in this, almost knocked Shutt out at the very start, then wrestled him for a few rounds. Shutt got a bright idea to attack him on the feet with his hands down, almost got knocked out again in the third round. Bit of odd matchmaking considering, Mikhailov 9-1, he's fighting a fella who's now 8-6. Doesn't seem to add up to me when he fought Brian Moore, who was on the bubble of being ranked in his last fight. So a bit of odd matchmaking, but for Shutt, it was a tough one because you go in there with a guy who knocks you down at the very start. So you'd be a bit wary, obviously, about the striking. Then he takes you down and wrestles you for 10, 12 minutes. And then you're like, right, no, I forgot about that knockdown. Let's strike again. And then he knocks him down again. And he's like, well, fuck it. And that was kind of the end of the fight. And Mikhailov ended up winning by ground and pound. But this guy is legit, isn't he? He's very much a top kind of prospect to contender, even now, I would say, in that Bellator 135-pound division, isn't he?
Yeah, he looked good. He dominated everywhere, but as you said, the matchup looked like it was that's what it was for. And I can't resist the old. He pitched a shutout.
I love it. I don't even know what that means, but I love it.
Yeah, but I think as you said, it's kind of a step back from definitely a step back from Brian Moore, and it seemed like he was. Schutt was there to lose. So, Mikhailov did what he had to do, but I'll definitely prefer to see him, step up now again rather than go back to fighting guys who are kind of, 50-50 records, which is a bit of a strange move here. But maybe Bellator were trying to get another opponent and it fell apart or something like that. But I definitely want to see him step back up again against maybe somebody in the top 15 next.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that there, Graeme, but I still like him. I think he's good. Then we Dalton Rasta, not a great fight at all against Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I was watching a bit of the Royal Rumble during this, I won't lie, and it was just like, yeah, not great, but he moves to 6-0, and he's definitely a good prospect. He hit Johnson with a few shots, but he pretty good chin, and he was able to stand up to it to close out the undercard. And look, apart from that,
at one stage it looked like Rasta might be able to kind of knock him out up against the cage or TK home, and he went for a kind of not great takedown attempt. It was just a strange decision, but obviously he's young in his career and he'll learn from their mistakes, hopefully. Yeah,
I think of all the prospects on this undercard, he probably maybe has the most to learn, possibly, or maybe he's not as far along as some of the other ones. It's a pity as well. Like, this undercard was actually pretty good, a lot of finishes and stuff, and they had the one kind of bit of a stinker in the main slot. So yeah, got into the main card. I know it doesn't make much of a difference. It's only on YouTube, but anyway, the main card started off with a 36-second head kick, a massive head kick by Chris Gonzalez, who moves to 7-1. Massive win over Syed Awad, who has been around for a long time. Is 38 fights odd. And he landed a big head kick. We've seen Gonzalez around the place before. I didn't, like, I did a bit of a preview for this card, and this was one of those fights where I kind of, looked past it a little bit in that, Chris Gonzalez is getting an opportunity against Syed Awad, but when you get someone like Awad in Bellator and people know him, if you do knock him out in the way that Gonzalez did knock him out, I think that's something that people maybe will remember. And going forward, Bellator are very good at using things as highlight reels and showing you going forward. So next time Chris Gonzalez fights, I'm sure that head kick will be all over the place. But look, not too much to analyse here. A good head kick, good finish by Gonzalez, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a good win, and it was an unexpected win in my opinion. Like, looking at his record before, he kind of coming off a couple of split decisions over kind of not great guys, and a win over Roger Huerta before losing to Yamaguchi. So yeah, I definitely wasn't expecting him to come out and just blow the roof off or blow the head off Syed Awad with a head kick.
All right, Conor, calm down.
Yeah, bit over dramatic there, but yeah, it's definitely a big win for him. But if he's going to take a step up after Syed Awad, I'd say it's probably not going to turn out too well for him. When you get a fight like this against a kind of name, like you said, a guy who's been around and had a lot of fights, and you beat him in impressive fashion, a lot of the time you end up in a fight maybe you're not ready for. But he's still early in his career. He's 8 fights deep, 1 loss in his second last fight. So maybe he will turn a corner, but I wouldn't be getting too excited yet until I see a bit more from him.
Only you could talk down a big head kick knockout now. Only you. Only fucking you. But anyway,
he did a great job, and it was a great knockout and all that. But I wouldn't be catapulting them into the upper echelon of the Bellator division yet.
Yeah, and we're looking at the co-main event in a second. One of those two lads, might be available. I wouldn't mind seeing him fight Peter Queally maybe. If Queally was to get the win in a couple of weeks, I think that'd be a good fight. Both fighting at 155, maybe that's something that Bellator would look to do in the future. But anyway, we will see about that. Then the actually, there was one more prelim fight, and I made the same mistake last night. Enrique Barzola and Darian Caldwell. Look,
Jesus, Caldwell, fucking hell.
What did you think?
He just has a way of blowing fights just constantly. Yeah, he definitely has a lot of talent in terms of offense, but his defense is just, I think he's like Melvin Gillard. He's just never going to be able to do it. He's just, he's not going to be able to go back and fix the holes in his game because they've been exposed time and time again over years. But he's 20 fights deep now, and yeah, he just finds a way to lose fights that maybe he should win just due to his defensive liabilities and limitations.
I would tend to agree, but Barzola is also a nightmare matchup, I think, for him, because Darren Caldwell, we all know what he's good at. He's a fantastic wrestler, good on top, and will try to wear you down, but I don't think has the best cardio in the world himself, whereas Barzola is a pretty good wrestler, defensive, and even if you do hold him down, he has unbelievable cardio, he's an unbelievable chin, and an extreme amount of damage can be taken by him in past fights, and I picked him to win a decision for that reason, but he was down 2 rounds on 2 guards, and as you said, Caldwell did find a way to lose, kind of, but Barzola found a way to win as well. He brought that pressure, and if he didn't have that cardio base, or if he didn't have that good chin, like Caldwell hit him with a big shot, I think, was it the start of the third, or maybe the end of the second-ish, and Barzola just walked through it, like, nah.
Yeah, but even at the end, he could have held on and maybe got a decision or something, but instead he puts his hand behind his own back and just what are you doing? Just eating shots. Just, he could have, that situation, he could have got out of that situation and held on and, maybe went to the scorecard, or the guy, Barzola, could have made a mistake and he could have capitalized on it, but instead he just seemed to panic, or, I don't know, he just seems to make the wrong decisions in crucial moments.
Yeah. It is he's a bit of a front runner too, I think. There are fighters like that. He's good when he's ahead, but when he, someone like Barzola refuses to go away and turns the tide on him, it's a tough life, and it's hard to criticize that too much. We'd probably do the same, but he's a world class fighter, former champion, and when you're getting beaten like that, it's not great. But Barzola, I think Barzola will cause a lot of people problems in that division. I think he's very good. I saw a few people saying the UFC shouldn't let him go, and watching him going up to this fight, I actually would tend to agree. I think he's good and has a lot to offer, and I think he'll do pretty well in Bellator. So it's a pity he's not in the tournament, but there's a few good lads, like I think Josh Hill he's outside the tournament. Obviously Brian Moore's fighting in a few weeks. I'd love to see Moore versus Barzola. That'd be a fucking great fight. Or even Barzola versus Mikhailov. I think that'd make a lot of sense right now. I would really, really like to see that fight. So, I think that I actually think they'll make that fight, and I think it makes a lot of sense. So looking forward to that if it happens. Then we had Sabah Homasi with Jalil Winnis. He won by a submission arm triangle. And he did it in 102 seconds. It looked to me like Jalil Winnis was just like, I'm winning this fight and I don't care. It was one of those, he was throwing hands every time he got near a neck, he went for it and ended up getting the finish very, very quickly. Sabo Massey's the type of one of those lads, he's like a Syed Awad or a few others, or a Henry Corrales, as we'll see, who has, maybe not, Corrales a bit of a background, but maybe not the best record in the world, but he's a tough guy and a tough out, and if he's given the opportunity, he'll finish it, and he's used to Bellator and used to that cage, and, at 170 pounds as well, there's a lot of fights there for him, there's a lot of people in that weight class, and if he can keep picking up wins, he can keep, like this, he'll keep getting places on the Bellator card like this as well, because he's always, he's not always fun to watch, but he was fun to watch in this one. He got a nice all-arm triangle finish, but we'll leave that there. There's too much to talk about that. Then we had the top 3 fights. Henry Corrales beat Aidan Lee by a technical decision. There was no 10-10 round here, unfortunately, but the first 2 rounds, Henry Corrales won both of them. Aidan Lee has all the skills, and it's weird, he fights out of Team Renegade, which is, it's weird because I was saying it last night that they don't really have a head coach as such, I don't think, and maybe I'm wrong, but a while back they didn't, Tom Breeze was kind of running it and all the fighters were kind of running it by themselves, and I was kind of thinking maybe that's going against Aidan because he has all the skills. He's a really good kicker, really good boxer. He moves stances really well, switches stances. He's good on the ground. Maybe not the best wrestler in the world, but very good jiu-jitsu and a good defensive wrestler as well, which is more important. But he just can't kind of seem to put it all together. And I feel like it's more tactics than technical, if that makes sense. And I feel like if he had someone like a Greg Jackson just giving him a game plan, not even training him or doing anything else, just giving him that game plan, I think he'd move to the next level. But then I was thinking is like, like Leon Edwards is a very good game planner and very smart that way. Fabian, not so much as well. I think Fabian is a similar sort of issue. Maybe it's an issue throughout that gym, and maybe it's something they need to look at. But yeah, either way, Corrales came in there and he won. I think because of that, but Corrales is a good fighter as well. Landed some hard shots, almost knocked Aidan Lee out at the very start of the fight. If I'm done in my notes in front of me, if I'm not mistaken, I think that did happen, didn't it? And then hurt him again. Obviously, the eye poke in the end. You know, I thought there might have been a 10-10 round there, but I think all three judges gave it to Lee, if I'm not mistaken, and went 29-28. Corrales won it anyway. Maybe there was 130-27 in there. But
I think there was a 30. I think there might have been 230-27.
Oh, was there? Maybe, yeah, okay. But Corrales is an underrated fighter. He's a good fighter, and this was a pretty high-level fight. What do you think of it?
You know, Lee, as you said, he just can't seem to put it all together. Maybe it's the transitions. Maybe it is the game planning or the not having the head coach there. It's really hard to know what's going on behind the scenes. But I think, you know, maybe he was just beaten by the better guy and the better man on the night in this case. You know, Corrales probably maybe would have finished him on another day. You know, it came close. It came close enough. It wasn't like he was nearly finished or anything, Lee. But yeah, so it's hard to know if it's, you know, what's going on behind the scenes as we kind of say at the training camp. But I don't know. I think maybe Aidan Lee, you know, he probably was, you know, I think the fight was only going one way. Obviously, the unintentional eye poke was unfortunate and he couldn't recover in time and all that. But even if that hadn't happened, I think the fight was only going one way and Corrales was going to win. So, yeah, it's unfortunate for Aidan Lee with the eye poke. He'll probably think I could have got back into it. But for me, it was only going one way, and that was for Corrales to either get a late TKO or to win a pretty comfortable decision.
Yeah, I would probably agree with you, but I don't think Lee was out of it either. But yeah, with the eye poke as well, it wasn't one of those ones. I saw a few people saying, "Oh, he was looking for a way out." Sure, his way out was a fucking loss. So why would he look for a way out? It makes absolutely no sense. Definitely,
if the no contest was on the table, then maybe you could see that angle, but that wasn't the case. No, it was either fight on or lose a decision, pretty much guaranteed. Like he knew how to fight it went. Yeah,
100%. Didn't we Vincent Henderson versus Islam Mamedov, which was. I spoke on the betting show about this, that I was going to avoid it, and this was the reason I avoided it. You know, it was a good fight.
It was on an edge, yeah. It was very, very close.
Very close fight. Like in round one, look, Benson was kind of winning it on the feet. It was relatively close, but then Mamedov kind of got the fight to the ground, and Benson went for a guillotine, and he made him defend for maybe 90 seconds, and that's effective grappling. I think that won him the round. So a good opening round for Benson. The second round, Mamedov had top control for almost the whole round. Benson was, you know, making him defend as well, but Mamedov landed enough, and I think he won that round. So it was 1-1 entering the third. Benson was winning early, landed some leg kicks. Mamedov had a takedown, but it was not on it. Benson went for the heel hook, and then Mamedov landed some nice ground and pound. And I thought that was enough.
Did you think the ground and pound was nice? I didn't think so. I thought it was so. I
saw a few people saying that. I mean, I need to go back and watch it. When I saw this decision announced, I was very surprised, honestly. And I'm usually not. Maybe I need to go back around and watch it again. It wasn't a robbery by any means or anything like that, but I didn't think it was great. I thought Mamedov won with that late bit of ground and pound. Maybe the ground and pound wasn't as good as. Did you not think, like, when Mamedov was in that heel hook and Vincent Henderson was sitting there, and Vincent Henderson had his head like against the canvas, and Mamedov landed maybe 6 or 7 kind of hammer fists or punches? Like,
I think he was kind of reaching. He was kind of like, I don't know. They didn't look like they were doing anything to me. Like, maybe it was because Henderson was kind of like, you know, deadpanning it, but I really don't think there was much in that. I actually, you know, I thought it could have gone either way, but I thought Anderson was actually going to get the nod just due to the work early on the feet and a couple of shots he landed as well. But it was razor close third round, and I think, you know, the first round was definitely Henderson, the second round was definitely Mamedov. So it all comes down to basically how much value you put into those strikes, and if those strikes did turn around the round. So, you know, I don't think you can argue too much with the judges either way.
Yeah, it 100% all definitely came down to that last, what was it, 50 seconds-ish with the heel hook at him. Like, I didn't think there was anything in the heel hook at him because he had like the triangle on the leg rather than, you know, turning over the ankle or going for the straight leg lock or anything like that. So there wasn't necessarily a submission there. Now, was he working towards a submission? No, yeah, maybe. But I don't know. I just... Look, if I go back and watch,
Henderson was kind of waiting for the opportunity to turn it into a sweep, and it just Meadows just never really gave him that opportunity.
Yeah, but when you put yourself into a position where you do, whether they think they're big shots or not, where you do eat 10-ish shots, you know, a few of which I thought were big, that's not great for you, especially in a very close round. And, you know, I thought it might have been enough, but it wasn't. It was definitely a close round, without a shadow of a doubt. But I would have given it the other way, but that's easy for me to say, sitting on my arse at home, you know, 30,000 miles away, whatever it might be. But that could be viciously wrong. How far is it from Limerick to Atlanta, Georgia, wherever this is? But anyway,
I don't think it's 30,000, but I think it's a lot less than that. But I have no idea. Really. 30,000 just seems extreme.
Seems to be extreme. Yeah, but look, a good win for Vincent Henderson. He needed it. I think people said this is the last fight on his contract. If I was Bellator, I'd keep him, honestly. You know, maybe not the most exciting fighter in the world, but a good name to have there.
How much is he on, though, I wonder? You know,
yeah.
They did take him away from the UFC kind of at the time, so maybe he's on a lot of money, but you know, he is still a former UFC champion, you know, a known guy to casual fans and obviously hardcores as well. But in his post-fight interview, he said he doesn't know if he's going to fight again. So maybe I'd say he'll be back. You know, it's MMA, like hashtag MMA retirements and all that. But you know, maybe if he doesn't get offered the deal he wants, maybe he'll go somewhere else and try and make the most money he can before retiring in the near future.
Yeah, or in 10 years. Yeah. I'd like to see Vincent fight again. I don't think he is. I don't
think it's like, oh God, you need to retire or anything like that. I think, you know, he has a good few fights left in him. He hasn't.
Yeah, if he did retire, to be great. You know, before it gets bad, because it gets bad for everyone. I'd love to see him retire, but I don't see it, to be honest. But anyway, We'll see how that pans out. In the main event, Ryan Bader against Valentin Moldavsky. I think this was, look, it wasn't a classic by any means, but a better fight than I expected at the same time. Bader won 1 and 4, got a knockdown early in the first. Moldavsky won 2 and 3, mostly in top position. And in the fifth was close. Bader landed shots in the clinch. Moldavsky got a late takedown, landed 1 or 2 shots. Don't really give a shit, to be honest.
I think the elbows from Bader against the cage were one in the fifth round in the fight for me. You know, it was a bad mistake by Moldavsky, really. You know, he just kind of accepted pushing him up against the cage and getting elbowed and basically threw weight around in the fight, in my opinion, in that. And, you know, didn't even move his head, just made it easy for Bader to basically to steal the round and steal the fight in that position.
Yeah, if I was Ryan Bader's family, I'd be feeding him donuts, fucking Subways, Kit Kat Chunkies, ice cream, the whole lot, so that he never goes down.
Battered Mars bars.
Yeah, battered Mars, everything. So he never goes down to 205 again, because, like, Bader has looked absolutely shot at 205, looked so slow, and he came in here against Moldavsky. He's not the best fighter in the world, and I thought he would win, and he almost won. It was a close enough fight. If you argue he won last night, I wouldn't disagree with you. But he made Ryan Bader look like the Ryan Bader of old, and Ryan Bader is not that Ryan Bader anymore. I can tell you that for fucking certain. But Bader did look better. He kind of had to, I suppose. He looked better than he had recently. But this was one of these fights, right, where it's like the old lad against like the new up and comer, but the new up and comer is not as good as people are making out at all. Like, he's a decision artist. He'll go all for a heavyweight to have like fucking 9 decisions out of 11 fights or whatever it is. I'm sure you've his record up there, Graeme. You can tell us. That's not great, you know. And for him to also be losing.
Are you trying to disrespect Carl Conrad here, or the greatest to go?
He's a legend. Never mind that. But yeah, look, for a heavyweight unification fight, this was not it. And look, it wasn't a bad fight, but everything that went into it, I thought it was poor. And there was, Jesus Christ.
To be honest, I didn't think it was that bad.
It wasn't that bad of a fight. I was alright, but I don't know. It's just poor quality, and in fucking Congo fighting Bader next in France, Paris.
Did you like Kochek Congo's cap, his hat he was wearing?
Oh,
little strap.
No, I didn't see it. It was kind of.
Oh, just did a stare down. He's wearing this like hilarious capital strap under his chin.
Yeah, he's like 47 years of age now. What a man. Congo.
They need to bring back Rogan for one of his, so we can talk about how he'd win a scary man competition during his whole fight, which he did for his whole UFC career.
What if he was fighting Husamar Pal Harris? What would Jimmy Smith say about him?
It's like rolling with a fire hydrant. Everybody's like rolling with a fire hydrant though. So
you know, Jimmy Smith is on is in WWE now. He's like their main announcer. Yeah,
very good.
Been doing it for maybe 6 months or so. Yeah, he's actually really good at it. Yeah, he's very good. And he's like, there was an armbar at one stage last night, and he actually called it as if it was like an MMA armbar. He's like, oh, you have to straighten the thumb and all, and you know, like, oh, you're not going to get out of that. And then they just like walked out of it, so it turned a bit pro wrestling. But he called it a shoot, as they would say. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Jimmy Smith. I think he's good, but he's doing like the play-by-play. He was not that for the UFC, so it's interesting. But anyway, yeah, I'm very negative on this fight, to be honest. The heavyweight fight, but it wasn't as bad. The one thing I would give out about Mike Beltran let him fucking clinch for about 4 minutes at one stage. I think it was in the second round, maybe. It was like, break them fucking up. I know I talked about this before, but God Almighty. We need to stop that shit. We need to adjust that fucking rule in MMA or something where the referees have more power to break them up. And yeah, it was pretty awful. Pretty awful. Anyway, right, let's talk about Eagle FC 44. I enjoyed this a lot. Very good matchmaking, first of all, from Eagle FC. I'll run you quickly through the undercard, and we thought maybe more about the top fights then. Adaji Mehajin beat Amadayev by unanimous decision. In a good kind of comeback win from him there. Like Rabzabov, who did a great job in the PFL, fighting for the $1 million title, won twice. Fought for that twice, won by a guillotine choke against Zach Zane. Sean Bunch won a unanimous decision. You know, Habib seems to love Bunch and all the commentators and stuff. We'll talk about those commentators in a second. But, you know, he didn't look great, but got the decision anyway, and good name to have on there. Beautiful win by DeMarcus Jackson against Mile Hunsunger, except it was a bit of an early stoppage and the referee jumped in there too quickly. Jürgen de Castro amazingly guillotine choked brimful Sean Asher, so that was good. Maybe fight at night. Dylan Salvador made Arman Ospanov quit on his stool after the second. Landed a lot of leg kicks, but a lot of shots to the face as well, so good stuff there. Probably the most dominant win of the night came for Raymond Magomedliev, who beat Anthony Injakwani and finished him in the first round. Also, Kuramagomedov beat John Howard in a pretty dominant one. He looks like a real top prospect, as does Magomedliev. And then we had the top 4 fights, which we'll get into more in a second. Before we do that, what do you think of the commentary, Graeme? We had I think it's Cyrus is your man's name, the main play-by-play guy. Then we had Usman obviously came in for the main card with Uncle Chael Sonnen and Henry Cejudo. What were your thoughts in the commentary?
It's
my thoughts exactly.
Yeah, you can't really say anything positive about that. It's an absolute mess, but it's early days. You know, they put on a pretty good card, so I don't want to criticize them too much. But yeah, you definitely need to sort the commentary and the analysis out, because a lot of the time having Chael Sonnen and stuff is entertaining for people, but people who actually want to watch fights, people who are watching Eagle FC, probably want a bit more actual analysis. And I don't know, I think they definitely have things to improve on, but overall the whole thing was good, so I don't want to say too many bad things, but yeah, that's definitely a point they need to work on. Yeah,
on the commentary, I'll have a video coming out in this in Sherdog, so I won't stay on it too much here, but I would say I thought Usman was actually like really intelligent in the stuff he was calling, but was maybe getting into it too much, and when you 4 people in the booth, it's impossible, so it's hard to make a call on Usman. I thought Henry Cejudo was actually really good early when he was calling just the action itself and calling the tactics of the fight. I think he was really smart and everything he said was correct. Then, when he started laughing with Chael and he went a bit full Daniel Cormier, wasn't great. And when the 4-man boot was there, then it was only the bad parts of it. And Chael, we know what Chael is. You know, he makes these mad assertions that are never right, almost. When they are right, he sounds great, but when they're not right, he sounds really bad. But I like
maybe
Chael.
they can put Chael like on like the desk or something.
He's great on the desk. Yeah, I don't mind him.
Leave him there and just leave the kind of yeah. I know Chael's a big name and all that stuff, and people recognise his voice, and maybe that's what they're thinking. But yeah, it just didn't work.
Yeah, if like Chael needs to separate YouTube channel Chael from commentator Chael. If he could do that, I think he'd be a great commentator. But he can't seem to separate him at the moment. But I do like Chael in that role. I think he's not bad, and you know, he hasn't done it in a while, I don't think so. I would continue with him for another while. I would just probably what I'd like to see Henry Cejudo by himself, because when he's by himself, I think he could actually be good. Your man, the play-by-play guy, I don't think he was bad, but this gimmick of saying, "Oh baby," like 3 times a fight, he needs to stop that. I know it's his gimmick, and they all like their things, but you look at someone like Brad Wharton, he has his gimmick, unbelievable. He says it at the end of the fight. Nothing wrong with that. You know, Mike Goldberg had it back in the day, and lots of commentators. But when you're thrown off that, if Brad Wharton said unbelievable 3 times a fucking round for 10 fights, that'd be a bit much. Like,
it'd be like fucking Goldberg in the UFC game, the first
exactly.
UFC game.
Yeah. Just saying it all. Virtually identical. Oh yeah, but yeah.
Just all the catchphrases coming out constantly, like it just.
I wasn't as negative on the commentary maybe as some other people. It wasn't great, but it wasn't too bad. But overall,
you know, it's early days as well. You know, they need to go through teething problems and stuff like that. So you know, if this was like a Bellator or something, might probably be more critical. But you know, you expect all these kind of problems at the start of a promotion.
Indeed, I liked their pre-show as well. It was them 4 lads. No, it wasn't Cyrus lad. It was actually Habib there, and Chael was presenting it. That was really good. It was just the 4 lads getting on, kind of having a bit of a podcast previewing the card. I really enjoyed that. And then you had Felicia Spencer commentating on the cornerman, which everyone knows how much I hate when they show cornerman in the middle of the round. But commentating on cornerman, and she was absolutely horrific at it as well, though. She was, herself and Jen Sturger, I think is her name, they did like a thing where they were analysing the next fight and stuff. I thought that was good. I think Felicia Spencer's actually good. But that's a really stupid job. They need to get her off it and like get everyone off it and give her another job, because I think she is good. But yeah, for that specific role, not great. But the broadcast itself was absolutely fantastic. I casted it from Chrome to my TV and it didn't glitch once, kept going the whole time. It was absolutely perfect, 1080p or whatever it was. So that was absolutely fantastic. So I couldn't complain about that too much. And, you know, I thought the graphics and all of that were pretty good. It didn't look amateurish in any way. As you said, look, the commentary wasn't too bad. We could make improvements to it. But for a kind of a first show in disguise, that was all around pretty good. But yeah, let's get back to the fights, I suppose. Ray barged in against Cody Gibson. This was very much a fight of 2 halves. The first 7.5 minutes-ish, Cody Gibson dominated Ray Borg, pieced him up, was making a laugh of him at a certain stage. Cody Gibson was kind of pointing at him and goes, "I'm going to punch you here." He's like, "Come on, punch me," stepping aside and then landing shots. But Barge turned it around halfway through it, came on, landed a big few shots late in the second. I thought that second could have gone either way. I did give it to Barge, but he won the third, then took him down. It could have been a 10-8 maybe, but Barg ended up winning the unanimous decision. Very, very fun fight. You catch that one, Graeme? You did. It was a good one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it all came down to that second round, really, as you said. I think Borg. I'm saying the way you say it now. Borg, he probably did just enough with the flurry in the end of the second, and I think the first and the third were pretty obvious. So I think it was just about the right decision there, and it was a good win for Borg. You know, it looked like it was going one way, and he definitely needed to make it happen when he did, and maybe showed his top level experience there and pulled out a pretty impressive win. Yeah, indeed, 100%. Let's talk about the top 2 fights. Rashad Evans against Gabriel Checo. I thought this was good matchmaking coming in, and that's exactly what it turned out to be. Before I get into it, Graeme, how did you think Rashad looked? Because a lot of people were saying a lot of things after this fight,
And I just want to get your take before I give mine. What did you think of Rashad, how he looked overall?
Well, he didn't look good, but as I said in the podcast before, it could have been one of these sad moments where you're looking at a guy that's been on top years ago, hasn't fought in a while, comes back, and it's really sad. But I don't think it was quite that. He got the win, obviously, decision. He didn't look, dynamic in any way or anything like that, but he didn't get destroyed and didn't look like completely out of his depth, which I suppose is a little bit more than I expected, probably. So depends probably what you were expecting from Rashad, and I think he looked quite good for what I expected.
Yeah, and I think that's job done by the matchmaking there, to be honest. It was a good match-made fight. Checo is not great. He can't really strike. He doesn't have much wrestling. Good ground game, good jiu-jitsu, and when he gets on top, he's very good ground and pound. But Rashad, that wrestling is not going to just leave him, or that jiu-jitsu is not just going to leave him. And he was very competitive in that area. I thought he was probably winning on the feet, but the fact that to have people saying Rashad didn't look too bad is miraculous, really. I went back and I watched early Rashad fights, one or two of them. I didn't really need to watch them this week, but I did anyway. And then I watched long periods of his last 5 fights where he lost. And the one thing about those ones, and they were a good few years ago now at this stage, Rashad didn't look physically unable to fight in that time. He still looked fast. He still looked like, when he did throw, when he did go for takedown, when he did get into scrambles, that he could still go. It just seemed like there was maybe something mental there, or you've got to a stage of your career where you've done so much analysis.
Not in it, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. But this time, I thought he didn't look physically able to do it, but he did have the head, and he did have the heart was in it more. So it was a weird one, where if you could get that Rashad Evans from 3 or 4 years ago, with this Rashad Evans now and this mindset, I think you'd have a very, very good Rashad Evans. But the fact is, I think that the physical side of it's kind of gone. Now, maybe it's not. Maybe he'll take another camp to come back. And I know he's eating only fruit and vegetables or something, they were saying, which cannot be good for you if you're wanting to be a top level athlete. And maybe the vegans will be at me, but you can't when you're trying to get to 205 pounds. He only weighed in at 202 as well. Maybe he'll go back down to middleweight, but I don't know. But look, it was a good win for Rashad. As I said, the one thing you want in matchmaking is an even fight, right? And as well, if you're running a promotion like this, an even fight that your guy can probably win, and that's exactly what we had here. So good stuff. I can't complain about it if it's Habib or Ali Abdelaziz or whoever it is matchmaking these fights. But I'm sure it's not Ali. I'm sure a licensed MMA manager would have nothing to do with a promotion like this over in the States where it's not necessarily legal. I'm sure there'd be sure there's nothing to talk about there. But
no, that guy's on the straight and narrow. I wouldn't.
Oh God!
Why are you laughing?
Oh Lord Almighty. Anyway, Sergey Haratanov then against Tyrone Spong. This weekend wasn't a great old advert for heavyweight MMA. Spong came out and he threw leg kicks hard early. Haratanov actually did a good job, I thought, striking with him. But then Tyrone Spong threw a higher leg kick after Haratanov had checked a couple of or one or two anyway, of the, which would be a couple, of the low calf kicks. Haratanov caught that kick, and he does the thing which we often see in MMA, where someone tries to push the upper half of the body backwards while they pull out a leg, which never works in MMA, but it surely did work here for Haratanov, and down goes Spong.
Works in kickboxing.
Yeah, it was hilarious, but Spong did a good job of surviving the first round. Haratanov landed a lot of shots, and you could see a minute or two into the second round, Spong's face had really badly kind of swelled, and that ground and pound, I didn't think it was maybe as that bad, but then the amount of swelling you saw on Spong's face, it must have been. But Haratanov able to get the fight to the ground again after Spong threw some nice shots to start the second. And ended up getting the finish with ground and pound. A bit of a mercy stoppage, I think, from the referee. But all in all, look, Haratanov definitely deserved this. You can't stay out of MMA for 9 years, go boxing and doing kickboxing, and expect to come back in against someone like Sergey Haratanov and win. I thought it was crazy that Spong was the favourite here. Checo was the favourite too. Madness in the betting lines. I don't think you'll probably get them again in Eagle FC, but they'll be watching closer. But Look, it wasn't a bad fight. It was all right, but it was kickboxer against, veteran MMA fighter, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Once it wasn't on the feet, Spong just didn't. He's just doesn't have the game. And Haratonov maybe isn't the best grappler, but he's been around MMA a long time. He's got 43 fights now. It's a different sport, kickboxing, and if you can keep it on the feet, maybe that's what the bookmakers were thinking, putting him as a favorite, thinking maybe Haratonov would strike with him and did a little bit, but once he knew how easy it was, his method to victory in the grappling realm, he took him down, and as you said, it was a bit of a mercy stoppage. I think the ref knew that Spong didn't know what he was doing on the ground and wasn't gonna recover position, and it was just gonna take damage. So I have no complaints about the stoppage.
Yeah, I'm just saying, overall a pretty good card. Some good matchmaking. The top fights turned out to be not disappointing or what's the word? I suppose depressing in any way. So a win-win, and I'm looking forward to seeing their next card. Right, let's talk about next week's UFC. Graeme,
yeah.
Anything stand out for you in that undercard?
The undercard? No, nothing really stands out. There's a couple of fights where could go either way, but there's no jeopardy. There's no consequence to most of these fights. Immediate consequence to most of these fights. Even on the main card, it's not a great card at all.
Yeah. I'm struggling here. I'm struggling for even a fight that I care about, a fight that I want to see. I'm struggling, very much struggling.
The Julian Erosa for Stephen Peterson fight, that could be a good. There's some potentially good fights here, but it's just the lack of jeopardy. I always come back to this. There needs to be some kind of consequence, or you're watching a prospect and seeing, he's getting tested against this certain style. Will we see some adversity? What will he look like? You struggle looking at the card. You're kind of struggling to see any of that. Even in the main event, there's not much on the line. Obviously, there is something on the line for the individuals involved and stuff like that. But as stuff that's actually going to have consequences for the top of the divisions or for the near future divisions, it's hard to see. Maybe we're missing out somebody. Maybe somebody's going to come out here and, one of these guys in a few years or in a few fights will be fighting for the championship. But it's looking at it, it's hard to know who that is going to be. But yeah, on paper, this card just doesn't look good at all. There isn't anything that stands out at all.
The co-main event is Punahele Soriano, who has been good. He's looked good recently, but he's fighting Nick Maximov, who's out of the Nick Diaz Academy, who's 1-0 in the UFC with a decision win. It's are either of these two guys, maybe they will be great fighters. Maybe I'm wrong, but are they at the moment? Even if they are two really good prospects, should that be the co-main event right now? I don't know, but it probably should be in this card. I actually like Phil Hawes versus Sam Alvey. That's an interesting enough fight. Can Hawes land a big shot? He probably can. It'll probably be a boring Sam Alvey decision, like always. Look, I do like Rakhmonov. He's 14. I think he is the one guy, that stands out. He's very, very good. But there's a guy who's 3-0.
But is he going to be tested here? I don't know.
I don't know. Miles Johns is on the card. He's pretty good against John Castaneda. I think, at 135. I think that'll probably be the fight of the night. But that Peterson Rose is not a bad fight as well. Some of these could be good fights. Absolutely. As you said there, we could, and it's not that we'll be wrong, but we could be coming on here next
We could have 8 knockouts, 3 submissions, we're fighting, but
they don't matter.
What's the consequences?
Yeah, they don't matter. It's one of those ones where if it is a great card, no one will watch it because there's nothing to watch it for, apart from the main event, obviously. And let's talk a little bit about that main event. Jack Hermansson versus Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland's a fucking nutcase. But he's looked good in these recent fights in a very kind of unorthodox boxing orientated way, which I didn't know was possible in MMA, but it is. Jack Hermansson, one of the best athletes in that weight division, I think, and wouldn't be hard for him because 185 is so shit. I assume Hermansson will be looking for big takedowns early and landing big shots over the top and stopping Strickland from getting into his boxing rhythm. And if he can't do that, Strickland will probably land a lot of shots over 5 rounds. He seems like he's great cardio and maybe win a decision and win it late. But I'm really looking forward to that fight. You know, the main event, it's not often I do look forward to a 185 fight, as it's a fucking trash division, I think. But I don't know. How do you think that one go? I actually don't know how it will
I think Hermansson needs to come hard early, because if Sean Strickland kind of slips into his style of like sparring match and point fighting and just edging out rounds, it could be just a boring sparring session kind of fight and Strickland winning the decision. So yeah, I think Hermansson's got to kind of go out there and not let Strickland get into his rhythm early and try and, you know, do some damage early. But I expect probably Strickland will probably win the round, enough rounds to win a decision in this.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think you hit the nail on the head there. It is about that rhythm and stopping that rhythm from starting. You know, he cannot let Sean Strickland run this fight. He cannot let him take the center and box him up and put him on the end of that jab. I just don't think he can. If he does, it'll be a tough one. But Hermansson has, you know, it's not as if he's out of it like that, but I think it'll be a big disadvantage for him if that does happen. But, you know, he has those big takedowns, he has those big shots, he has a very good submission game. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. You know, two very experienced guys as well. 28 fights for Hermansson, 27 fights for Strickland. So you don't get much more experience than that at this sort of level. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And it should be a very, very fun one. No Bellator next week. There's an LFA card coming up. LFA 1, 2, 3. You know, with a main event for the 135 pounds, 6-0 Daniel Argueta against Marion Santos, who's 12-0. So, you know, Askar as well, he's a name I think people are looking out for. He's 12-2. He's fighting in the co-main event there, so I'm sure there's some good up-and-comers there as well. We have to mention as well, the Irish team this week had a great week over at the World Amateur Championships, the IMMAFs. There were some real standouts from the likes of Max Lally, who ended up getting injured, and many others as well. And they won 4 medals altogether. Nadine Abbott-Bissett from Team Rhino won gold. I know Paul Redmond was talking about her before. He was saying she's definitely going to win gold, and she did. Andy Ryan came on the podcast with the lads, the Old Triangle, and said the ladies are going to do really well, and he was absolutely dead right. 3 medals. Kaya O'Sullivan from CMAC won silver, and CMAC always have really, really good amateurs. You know, her brother is Alexander O'Sullivan, I believe, you know, and he's one of Ireland's best amateurs ever, probably. You know, he's fought an amateur for a long time. Ava Cruz from SBG HQ as well won bronze, as did Paul Buckley from MMA Cork. So 4 medals. I think there were 6th or 7th on the medal table. Andy Ryan, I know, had it up today. So really, really good stuff from there. If you want to see a review of the first 2 days, there's a video up now on the Severe MMA YouTube. The lads from the Old Triangle came onto it. So, and also, if you want to hear a full review of the whole card, the Old Triangle will be out again in, what is it, next week or the week after? Maybe they're doing an episode every 3 weeks. So subscribe to them over there on Spotify and SoundCloud and all things like that. And the episode will be up on the Severe MMA YouTube as well. So them lads are doing a great job of covering the amateur side and the local side of Irish MMA as well. You know, we've done it for years and years here, and we will continue to talk about it on this podcast. It's not like we're going to give it up and they'll be the only ones talking about it. We'll continue to talk about it as well. But we need more, you know, we need more coverage and more talk about certain things in certain parts of the sport. And that's exactly what you'll get over there with the Old Triangle, as well as on Patreon. Sign up, patreon.com/Severe MMA podcast. Some very good stuff coming out this week. Myself and Harry have 3 episodes of the Speaker's Corner ready to go. They'll be out every Wednesday. Graeme, I must actually edit your, I've reminded myself, I must edit your podcast this week. You have Joe McColgan on Wednesday to talk about the 10 years of Severe MMA. You had Franz on last week. You've had Artem on. You've had John Kavanagh on. You've had Owen Roddy on. Pendred. Chris Fields and others as well. Yeah, some fantastic stuff there. So you can get all those 1,000 episodes this week. 1,000 episodes. The Franz Malambo one was 1,000 episode to go up on Patreon. So for a $5, you can get all 1,000, every one of them, with more to come every week. So patreon.com/Severe MMA podcast, or just go severemma.com/points, PINTS. Price of the pint a month, and you'll get all of that. It's fantastic stuff, fantastic. And if you're listening to this on the first. If you're listening to this before the first, don't sign up yet. Wait until tomorrow, and then your $5 will be taken. You'll get the whole month for that $5, so, or else you'll get charged $2, I think. So don't do that. We don't want to be robbing you of a $5 for fucking one day. So don't, unless you want to give us $2. Didn't do it. It'd be great. But yeah. That it, Graeme? Any more to say? We got a good hour out of it anyway, even though there was no UFC and nothing major happened. So we managed to talk shite for an hour. But any crack?
Yeah. Not really. There's kind of no club football on this weekend, so there's I don't know. It's a bit strange. I suppose for a Man United fan, it's probably a relief. But
relief. I was going to say, isn't it kind of stupid that every team basically had a break, yet they're still doing the mid-season break? Just senseless. Absolutely senseless.
Well, I think a lot of teams didn't, though. Some teams did, but a lot of teams didn't. A lot of teams had a couple of days that the training ground was closed and it wasn't really a break. But
Liverpool.
Yeah, I think
they did a great job getting that training ground closed.
Well, Liverpool didn't call off any Premier League games, so yeah. Other teams called them off. Yeah, I think Man United obviously had that little mid-break when Ralph came in, and obviously it didn't really work out too well. But yeah, I think Man United will be happy with another little break to try and change things up again. So hopefully it doesn't work out for Man United, but I think it might. It might be a good thing for Man United to have this break.
I don't know. Anyway, we'll leave it there. Thanks everyone for listening. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, all of those places, wherever you're listening to it. It'll mean a lot to us. We really, really appreciate it. And share this as well. If whoever you're watching, there's probably a little share button. Just click that, share it, go to Twitter, tag @SeanSheehanBA, tag @SevereMay Pod as well. And we will share that. Our Instagram as well is taken off. Ian and Quilsha and Andy have done a great job this week on the Instagram. There's lots of great stuff. All the highlights from the IMMAFs, apart from the biggest one, are all up there now. So check them out right now. Follow @SevereMMA.com. So DOTCOM on Instagram. So yeah, there you go. Graeme, what is your inspirational / not very inspirational quote of the week to take us out?
Okay. Take me out tonight where there's music and there's people and they're young and alive.
Take me out tonight. Is that one?
Yeah. Where there's music and there's people who are young and alive.
Fucking, he's rubbish. Anyway, good luck. We'll see you all.
So your favourite band, The Killers, cover his songs because he's so good. So
they're the best. The Killers are the best.
Why don't you find out for yourself? Killers cover of a Morrissey song.
I listen to it. Right, go on. Good luck. See you, Graeme. See you, everyone. We'll see you all next week.
Good luck.
Bye. Next Tuesday. If you would like to support the podcast and